2018 has definitely brought about some weird or challenging films. I think two that stand out to me right off the top of my head are Hereditary and Mandy. Both of those are visually stunning, and just the storytelling is off-putting in certain ways and just weird, and not everybody likes them. Well, there's a new film from Lars von Trier called The House That Jack Built, and that, again, is going to fit into this category. This is probably Lars von Trier's most accessible film. What it is a story that is told in 5 incidents and an epilogue. Matt Dillon is the star of this, and he is Jack. And he is recounting tales to an unseen narrator, or an unseen conscience, maybe. We learn who he is later in the film. His name is Verge. But for most of the film, you don't see him. You only hear his voice. And it's this interaction that is off screen between Jack and Verge as they're retelling this story. And the reason I say conscience is because at some points Verge really does question Jack in his motives, or what he's doing, or why he's even telling the story, or why he's chosen the incidents that he's chosen as examples. Now, if you read any news about this, when it debuted, I think it was Cannes, half of the audience got up and walked out. Now, there are disturbing images in this. The overall tone is unsettling in the film, but it wasn't something that I was like, oh my gosh, I have to turn this off. It wasn't that bad. So I don't know if maybe that's publicity stunt or whatever, but it's not as bad as I imagined it would be, even though it is wildly unsettling and it is not going to be for everybody. And there are story components that are just not right. Now, for me, the first 2 incidents that are told are probably the strongest and the best. And number 2 was the funniest, I guess, if you could say that, because Jack, who basically he becomes a serial killer. It's not really a spoiler in this, because that's the whole premise of the film. He's recounting his tales. Well, in incident number 2, his OCD kicks in, and it just plays out for a really enjoyable scene, because I did find myself chuckling at it. Not at the horror that what he did, but then the aftermath of what he has to do. This is definitely an art house type film, and it's not going to be for everybody. And within there, they focus a lot on art. And Jack does specifically, because Jack has this hubris to him that he sees himself as an artist, and that the art surpasses the motive or what you do to create the art. And so that level of hubris is just, it permeates the entire film. And to some degree, I think it's mirroring von Trier's hubris, because in parts of this, von Trier uses clips of his previous films as examples of art. So, take that for what it's worth. In some ways, The House That Jack Built is similar to Dante's Inferno. And to give more than that kind of spoils certain things, so I'm just going to leave it there. But just know that certain aspects mirror, or at least reference, that in certain ways. I've read in a couple of different things that this film could be a way for von Trier to be atoning for the misogynistic tones that he's had in a lot of his films. Now, this one also has that just overarching throughout the entire thing. I mean, Matt Dillon is a misogynist, but it's then called out. Verge actually addresses it in there. So it could be that this is von Trier's way of, through film, through the screen, saying, okay, I get it. My films have been this way. I'm sorry. Here is my penance. I'm going to be like Jack, and I'm going to have to deal with the consequences. Maybe? I don't know. Maybe that's just totally a reach. It's very layered and complex, and overall a good but strange viewing experience. There's no sex, but there is nudity, profanity, violence, and a whole lot of gore and disturbing imagery. I give The House That Jack Built 3.5 out of 5 couches. What is the most disturbing film you've ever seen? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.